Hello friends, I'm Joseph and this is Almost Sound. We started Almost Sound and its podcast series with one main intention: to help artists, promoters, record label owners, playlist curators, and others in the music industry share their message and views with the world. We hope that you will get inspired by their stories, experiences, and work, and that by spending time with them at home, you will also get to know them as people. Without further ado, let's welcome today's guest. Diego, in art, Projekt Gestalten is a DJ, producer, visual artist, and founder of the VRAA Dj diva ranking and record label. Born in São Paulo, Brazil, he experienced the freedom and creativity of Berlin and made his city his new home. One of the core members and DJs residents of the event series Pornceptual, Diego has been traveling the world to share his art and has played alongside Norman Nodge, Monoloc, Alienata, Jamaika Suk, The Lady Machine, Amanda Mussi, and many others, including during a sweaty and intense Pornceptual per Boiler Room. In this podcast, we chat about why artists should not work for free and rather be picky on where they get involved. We also talk about electronic music and the queer community in Brazil and the origins of Projekt Gestalten. And we learn the story of Diego, who went from opening a giant fan on the dance floor to creating a DJ diva ranking and record label. We also discuss about racism and homophobia and the white privileges, and why it is very important to systematically address these very diffused issues. With this conversation, Diego's work ethic and passion for arts, including visuals, bring to our attention the importance of spending the right energy into carving out ideas into art. Enjoy this chat with Projekt Gestalten. Diego, thanks so much for being with us. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Nice. One thing to start and warming up, like how are you spending these days now that the lockdown is easing up a little bit?
I still kind of isolated on my place here. I still don't trust this flexibility that people are getting with. I think it's a little bit too soon to be raving and in parties, even though there are a lot of illegal stuff, illegal raving happening. But I still gonna stay here for a couple more weeks until I I know it's safe.
Yes, and it's interesting because every country is kind of doing it their own ways, and some countries are like going crazy, some others are chilled.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in Brazil right now the president is kind of shitty, so he's completely ignoring this whole situation.
Yeah,
and I was actually there when a little bit before the quarantine started, and I got lucky enough to leave and come back to home to Berlin, as before everything blew up, because I was already getting a feeling that he would mess this up.
Yeah,
like telling from his statements, and he was downplaying the whole situation. So yeah, I feel that that would happen, and my worst fears came true.
It's a shame because it's I don't know, at least for as far as we know, it's a very dangerous situation, and if you don't take care of these things, it's like at some point you're going to be in very dangerous situation for the country.
Yeah, exactly. And also for economic standpoint, I think Germany did a good job taking care of freelancer workers and the artist community. So they allocated a lot of money for us. So it's a very privileged position not to be worrying about like financing during this time. But in Brazil there's I think like 600 reais, which is not even, I think it's 100 200 euros, like
wow,
for one time off. It's not even so it's really tough some places.
It's really tough, yes, and that's the thing that we're saying just a moment ago, which is like every country is a bit going in their own way, trying to manage the situation as they can. Some countries, Germany, amazing, they're taking care of everyone as much as they can. Other countries, even US, like Italy, which is where I'm originally from, it's it's been a mess for artists for sure.
Yeah, actually, I was supposed to when this started. I had a gig in Milan in
Cool.
April, and yeah, that really, I think it was the epicenter of the whole virus in Europe.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was really shitty that this happened. I was really looking forward
Yeah.
to go back, but yeah.
Yes, it is. Fingers crossed we're gonna get back to some kind of normality soon.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So talking about a bit of better stuff, more pleasant.
Yeah.
So you are from Brazil, and as far as I understand, you were born in and grew up in São Paulo. Is that
Yeah, in the
right?
suburbs of São Paulo, actually,
Yeah.
would be the same dynamic of New York, and New Jersey. It's like
Right.
it's kind of São Paulo, but it's not São Paulo.
Yeah.
It's called Guarulhos, the city.
Guarulhos. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how is the music scene there?
The music scene in Brazil comes and goes like the trends. So basically, for instance, in the late 90s, it was all about techno.
Mm.
And then this died out. And then in the early thousands was just drum and bass. So all the clubs and all the parties would play drum and bass all around. And then the drum and bass died out after 4 years, the minimal techno. And now techno came back again. So I'm happy
Wow.
right now. So I'm not sure how long it's going to last. I hope it lasts for quite some time. But
Mhm.
now also I think the parties are more, the crowd is more diverse than before, like 20 years ago. You have the gay parties and the straight parties, and there's everyone was in their own little corner, and now
Mm.
it's a little more blend in. So I really like this, that you have so many people from different walks of life.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting how you see in different countries there are trends and in different moments, and like
Yeah.
London has for sure had like different trends at the same time. Germany as well.
Yeah, but I think it's funny in Brazil because all the clubs, like in Berlin, there is a drum and bass club that sometimes plays techno, sometimes play house music in some nights, but they have their specific spots, And in Brazil is really, one day the club is playing this type of music, and then 2 years later they're playing a completely different kind. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's very weird, but I like it sometimes.
Yeah, it's nice. And so I remember I recall I saw in another interview you were talking about a club called Blue Space in Sao Paulo.
Yeah, Blue Space is really a club where, because the gay clubs in Brazil before it got too commercial, they were really nice. They're really playing progressive, the tribal house from New York, from the late 90s. So it's very specific kind of music that was
Mhm.
playing there. And there was a lot of drag shows. I remember at 2 a.m, the music stopped, and then there's like the stage, and the drag queens would go and do the show for 1 or 2 hours, and then the music would restart.
So it was
And
like a intersection in the night. So it was like a proper show.
yes, exactly. There was the music stopped, and then everybody watched the show, and there was
Wow.
some numbers with lip syncs, and there's some numbers. There was just the drag queens coming to the audience and interacting, like a host, and making like contests with the people, So it was really funny. And now they still going on. I think it's one of the oldest gay clubs in Brazil,
Mhm.
but now they are more, the drag queens that they call is just from RuPaul's Drag Race. There was is a little bit more commercial, and even the
Mhm.
music in gay clubs now, they're more what you see, what you hear in the radio. So I don't like so much anymore. So
Yeah. Yeah, and so compared to what we have here in Europe, for instance, Berlin, which is a very free place, and I guess like there's
yeah.
much more, people are more open to anything. Like the people feel free to do whatever they want to experiment. How is
Yeah.
what's different in Brazil for people who never been?
Yeah, it really, I think it was also a generation thing. My generation of people, there was really not so much room for experimentation in any ways as possible. And now I feel that the younger generation, they are more open-minded. So, I like that a lot of people, they don't define themselves as straight or gay anymore, and they are more fluid, and this also happening in Brazil, but not in the same pace as in Europe, because there's still a lot of behavior rooted on being mainly, in Brazil. This is a very Latin thing.
Yeah.
So older generations wouldn't understand this kind of mentality.
Yeah. And that has certainly an impact on the music scene, because I guess, like, I can tell you, Italy is very similar to what you're describing as masculist, if that is even a word. Like, mainly, yes.
Yeah.
And it's very similar, where like people say, they might even tell you, yeah, we're really open.
Oh yeah,
then they tend not to be.
But not too open. Yeah,
not too open. Yes, which means somehow it's very exclusive. So you push out some people just because of their sexual orientation and preferences. You essentially make them feel excluded from the main scene, because they cannot do that in a main club.
Yes,
where it would be beautiful.
Yes, this is actually all the Italians that I know here in Berlin. They are more open-minded, but they move away from this mentality, I guess. So it's also with Brazil. There was a lot of people, a lot of Brazilians that they have a different mentality. When they come to Berlin, or to Europe for that matter, they open a little more, open their minds, or became more tolerant. I also met, I think it was a guy from Romania, and he was telling me he's super straight, and then he was telling me that he was actually homophobic in Romania, and then he moved to Berlin, and now we were making out,
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that he's gay. He was just making out, yeah. But then he saw a girl. Okay, you gotta kiss her too. Yeah, okay, go there, have fun.
Yeah. I think a big part of that is that Berlin, in that, is similar to London, where you feel you are allowed to be free. Then you're like, I don't need to get stuck in my own ideas. You change your mind.
For sure. And even with me as well, I'm gay, but there's occasional, if is the right mood, I also make out with girls too, and that happens a lot of times. And I think being in Berlin changed a lot of my mentality towards that as well.
Yeah.
And even the way that I express myself, when I moved here, I was feeling uncomfortable, like wearing makeup or painting my nails. And this is something that if I go to a club, I feel naked if I don't put some eyeshadow in my face or something. So also helped me open my mind to gender stereotypes.
Yes.
And all of this.
Yeah. And so when you were, so you moved from Brazil directly to Berlin. When you were in Brazil?
No. Okay. No. I did. I did my. After I finished my university, I have a major in visual arts. I start working on cruise ships. So I was all around the world for 4 years.
How interesting! Wow.
Yes. So I was a photographer, and then I became a videographer, and then I was promoted to the head of digital management. And I had a lot of spare time, so I did a lot of music inside my cabin. I have a private cabin, so I have a lot of privileges inside there. And it was a really good time was actually when I start saving money to move to Europe. And it's a very nice situation where you don't need to pay rent, you don't need to pay for food, you don't need to pay for basically anything, and you get your salary in cash, and there's no taxes, because the company was American company, but the ship was registered on Bahamas, which is a duty-free.
Wow.
So they have this loophole, in the.
Wow.
So you get paid in cash, in dollars, all the time. So
it's pretty cool.
So that's how I make money to move. And actually, my plan was to do my master's in London.
Yep.
And and I was just doing the budget, and I could see right away that my money would not last in London. It's way too expensive. And my master's, I want to go to this really fancy school called Central St. Martin's,
Oh
which
yes,
is a
of course.
really
I know
yeah.
it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, of
Fashion
course, you know
school.
it's exactly not the fashion school. There's the London Fashion School. There's all a part of conglomerate of the University Arts London.
Yeah.
But for international students, not from Europe, no European students, it's £12,000 just to study.
To 1
And
year. Yeah.
yeah, and for to local to European students, the half of this, so around £5,000-6,000.
Yeah.
And then the cost of living, everything, I said no, I'm not going to last. And then I was in Berlin for a while, and then I really felt comfortable. And then I researched about some schools there. And then when I realized that I could do my master's there for free, it was just, okay, I'm moving to Berlin. That's it. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's how I moved to Berlin. I came there. Yeah. After my cruise ship.
Yeah. So Berlin, you start a new adventure, and I was reading in another interview that you said you felt you found your mothership, you found your home.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was really the vibes. I feel like in London, I've been to London after I decided to move to Berlin. I never been to London before, and then I still didn't move to Berlin yet, but I came to London for 2 visits, and I really felt I made the right decision, because I felt London was really very similar to São Paulo. The vibes, it was like people running, everybody's just running, everybody is really, they're not. It's not laid back, and that's what I felt in Berlin. You see people in the parks, in the middle of the week, smoking a joint, 3 in the morning, weekday, nobody cares, so it was really a very more laid back. There was much more nature. There was much more, even the sound pollution, it was way less than, for a big cosmopolitan city. It was still very freeing for me. And then also the nightlife play a huge part of my decision as well.
Yes.
Actually my plan A was to come here and do my master's, and then apply for a job in my area. And then being a DJ was my plan B, but I found a little bit cliche to be a DJ and move to Berlin to try to make it as a DJ. I think it's quite similar to being an actor and moving to Hollywood, and then you don't make it because there are like 1,000 people per square inch, trying to make it, and then you just don't. So it was very organic for me. Like, I was not really trying hard, but it happens, just happened. My career happened, and then my plan B sort of became my plan A, and I could apply for a visa just being a DJ, being an artist visa with no master's degree or anything. So that's how I end up here.
Yeah, not bad as plan B, not bad.
Yeah.
And so things worked out. It seemed that you were happy there, and so you found a place which felt like great for you. And what changed in the music scene since then? So you moved there. What year was that when you arrived?
2013.
13. So 7 years ago.
Yeah.
How much has changed in the music industry? And is there something that you liked before and then now it's like has changed in a bad way?
I don't know. I don't like to reminisce so much, because I feel when we were in 2013, people were like, "Oh yeah, this place was so much better 5 years before." Then 5 years before, oh my God, Berlin was so much better.
In the 90s,
the 90s, yeah. And then we were in the 90s. Oh my God, Berlin was so much better in the 80s. When they were before the wall collapsed. Because we have the East Berlin, David Bowie, all this shit, blah blah blah. And then we go back and back and back, and then people don't like to live in the moment, and that's really concerns me. So I really try to savor the moment a lot. Of course, there are a lot of things that change, in regards to gentrification, for instance, and a lot of people with money moving to Berlin, because I feel there was this huge immigration problem 4 years ago, 3 years ago, with the Syrian war and stuff, and people were really concerned immigrants moving to Berlin or moving to Germany or Europe for that matter. And I don't really feel threatened by that. I think my real concern is when people with money move to places because they want to come here and they want to impose their lifestyle and the way they live on a place that is not supposed to be lived this way, so they want to come here and tear down the nice buildings and build a really fancy apartments to really expensive hipsters coming here. So it's really I don't know. So that was the thing that I noticed.
It resonates a lot also with London, which is unfortunately it's a city that continues to change that way, and it's harder and harder for people to live, especially artists.
Yeah, for sure. It's really especially with the cost of living that is that London is. I was reading this article. It was basically a 1 square meter, like a closet. The guy was living as an apartment, and pay almost £700, to live in this really shitty place in really central London. But yeah, it's really for me.
It's crazy sometimes. Like you see stuff or rooms that are being rented out, which is like it's basically like I don't know, like a shed, a corner of a room, and they rent it out for like £600. Like
no.
And one thing that I want to talk about your VRAA ranking in a bit. Before that, there was one thing that I read. So you started this thing in 2015, which is a ranking, and we're gonna talk about that. But I think I noticed in your introduction there was a change because you started introducing the project in 2015. In 2019, you started mentioning about a bit of a weird situation you were feeling in Berlin, where seems that there's more like microaggression. There is not respect so much for the queer scene, and you feel like this thing is a bit affecting the way you live the nightlife.
I think things with AFD, which is a far right political group that came to power recently, I think people are getting a little more, they're not more afraid to tell, what they think about immigrants, about queer people. So you see a rise of queer people getting attacked in public spaces. You see a rise of people getting disrespect, not only in public space but also in clubs, by security or by other party goers. So for me, I don't want to get into specifics into my situation, but I feel that not only Berlin, but I think in Europe as a whole, there was there's a trend of people getting harassed by those really far right people, and it's really sad. And I feel like white people can get away a lot, with things, and sometimes they're not completely. Like people of color, or maybe they are in a situation they're not completely right, but also I think there are ways to handle situations. You don't need to be so aggressive if you get into a discussion with someone, or there's a way to de-escalate the situation without resort to physical abuse or
there's so much to say about that. I mean, I think that there is one of the underlying problems is that I guess there might be part of the population in countries like Germany, England, Italy that is not happy, is not living in a comfortable situation. And far-right parties are usually very good at riding the wave of hate and channeling toward the minorities or scapegoats, right? You need to find an enemy.
Because if they cannot find a job, it's not because they didn't go to they didn't apply themselves, they didn't go to school. It's because they're immigrant here that with no language skills, they basically can steal your jobs, and this is really it's very easy to blame someone else for your failures, I guess.
Yeah.
So people is afraid.
Yeah. People, like, it's easier to, it's easier to blame on someone else and like not take responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. And also capitalize on their fear,
Yeah.
self-preservation. And then this is how, bad things can happen.
Yes. And in a way, like something that I started thinking more about, I started being more aware of since the last events with George Floyd in US, is that a lot of the problem is on white people who don't consider themselves racist. And I'm part of that in a way, because we don't see that this is a problem for others. So we think that that is not a problem. So when then someone comes to us and say, hey, there's been someone who is harassing me, we tend to dismiss it, being like, no, it's impossible. It's London. Come on, nobody would do that, because we never saw it with our eyes. We don't perceive it.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I was in an airport once, and I was traveling with another DJ for a gig, and we are going to the same place. And then after the security check, I got randomly picked by the security for a more through search. And that was realized. Yeah, I never experienced this before. It was really not me. Like my friends say, oh yeah, I don't think I ever got stopped in the airport. Say, oh really?
Yeah.
How does that feel like? So yeah.
I think part of the, like, a way we can face the problem is also to talk very openly about that, and mobilizing for what we can to try to see the problem more and address it, create a structural way for people not to do that.
Yeah, so I think it's really good when you are aware of your privileges, and then you have allies, even if you don't experience racism or xenophobia or homophobia yourself, you can, have empathy and, be self-aware of your, surroundings.
And help people who might feel that way instead of dismissing because we don't see that is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, listen to them. And
yeah. And okay, so talking about your VRAA ranking, so that was a project that started in 2015, right? So, and is a ranking, how would you describe it for people who don't know it?
Actually, my list was a reflection of those end of the year lists. I found really all the same people, all the the same PR people or DJs, artists, and I was really fed up with this. And then I started to do my own lists where I ranking as opposed to ranking them their quality as a DJ or as an artist. I was ranking them how well they can open my fan, which I have this Chinese Aishi fan, and then I rate their skills opening the fan, and then when you open it makes the sound VRAA. I wish I have here, as I cannot find here, but yeah, someplace there. But yeah, so this and so.
Go. No, go ahead.
No, it's basically my experience with my personal experience with the DJs, and then it kind of extrapolated beyond their fan opening skills, and then it was just basically weird stories, personal stories with me. It was not really more about what they, just about some anecdotes that I have with them. So so that was the whole reason why I did the list. But of course, I have an ulterior motive to do it, because I want to do my label, which is also named VRAA.
Right.
It's a queer label focused on techno music, and I want to have this engagement with the crowd before I release the label. So I did the list for a couple of years, and then I released my label some years later. So so that was all planned out like this.
Got it. Yes. And one of the interesting things, so what was one unintended consequence that happened after that? Something very good that you were like, wow, and I'm amazed that this thing just happened.
Yeah, so there are a lot of people who come up to me, in clubs or the DJs, and where can I be on your on your on your list. But for me, the biggest shockwave for me was when I was trying to rank surgeon, and he really sucked. He really sucked open defense. So I was really disappointed with him. But then he made it to my list because later on in the same day we were in Berkheim. I remember, and I rate him, and he was really bad at it. And then we were having an ice cream, in the ice bar.
Yeah.
And and we're talking about RuPaul's Drag Race. And then out of nowhere, he just say, "Oh, I love RuPaul's Drag Race. I have here." And then he takes his phone out. And then, "Oh yeah, I went to a bar here, a gay bar, to see Milk and Tammy Brown performing. They're like really famous drag queens, but they're really on the early season. So you really need to be a Drag Race fan to know this shit." And he actually took a picture with those drag queens.
Wow.
He made a break being a techno god, and just went to this local pub, in Birmingham, I think it was the local gay bar, just to watch them perform. Those drag queens perform. So I find it really, to me, that's really unexpected. For me, it was really, so that's why he made his way to my ranking.
Wow,
so that was my.
And so tell me more about your fan. Is that a very big black fan? Is that right? Like
actually now it's white. I have a white one because I have a wedding dress. I perform wearing a wedding dress.
Yeah.
So now it goes more with my outfit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like a Tai Chi fan. It's like a Chinese ones. And then this is actually a reference from drag queens in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
In Brazil, they use this fan because it's a tropical country, and they have all this makeup, and they are in the clubs. So they need this fan to fan themselves so their makeup doesn't melt. So this is a very big in Brazil, those fans, and kind of got co-opted by the gay scene.
Yeah.
And then there's a Asian quarter in São Paulo that is the only place that I can find the size that I want.
Yeah.
You can find Asian shops here, but they are a little more smaller. But there is the only place that I can find the nice the big size.
Huge.
Yeah. It's not the one that you can put in the wall. You can still manage with your hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say it's like 32 centimeters.
Wow, the length.
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost have a flashback of someone. It might be you, a Berkheim, with a huge. It was
me.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that was me.
Wow. I still remember that because one of my best friends has a lot of fans. He's a fashion stylist who used to live in London. Now he's traveling the world, but called Bena's Bar, and he loves fans. And I remember we always told him, one time we're in Berkheim, and this guy puts up this huge fan. You can't believe it. It was huge in Berkheim. He was like, yeah. I don't know. I don't believe that. I never seen that thing happen. And I think it was you. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Okay. Yeah.
That happens a lot. Yeah, that happens a lot.
Wow.
I mean, I'm in New York, and then I was in a record shop, and then a guy, "Oh my God, you're the guy in the wedding dress in Berkheim, right?" Yeah.
Wow. That is certainly like an unintended consequence of how caring that is. Like,
yeah, so we exemplify right now, live. This was a unintended consequence. You knew me, before you knew me.
Wow. Okay, interesting stuff. And okay, so the Diego Socks theory. Tell us a bit more about that. I watched the description in one of your VRAA rankings.
Yeah, there was Dex J. He played in the Snacks Party, which is a party in Berkheim that you can that's men only. Mm-hmm. It's twice a year. And then he played there, and then he messaged me asking me for some fashion tips because it was like a sport theme nights. And he was not he was a little bit unsure what to wear. And then I recommended him some sport shops that he can get vintage clothing and stuff like this. Mm-hmm. And then he came really nice. He looks like a soccer player, but he was wearing the only thing that was really not good on his outfit is that he was wearing this really low cut socks that is very straight for me, you know, but only works if the guy is wearing shorts, you know. If they're straight, they don't like to show the socks they're wearing. They're like, oh, you know, I'm straight. I don't want to wear this. I don't want to wear socks. So you wear this low cut shirt, socks, and if you're a little bit, and it progresses how long is the socks, then would be how gay you are. So if you wear those long, really long football socks, you're like super gay. If you're in the middle, you're in between, you're bisexual. If you're a little bit lower, you are straight, but you want to kick a guy out of bed, you know. So it was basically like this. So it's not real science, but yeah, it works.
It really works.
But
Yes.
yeah, I think it's a mentality. It's not really that you are straight, you are gay. You know, you feel like, you know. So yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna pay more attention to people's socks now.
Yes.
that is quite telling.
Yeah, I'm really patient. Sometimes I see some hot guys and they are still not in the socks length that I want. So yeah, I need to be patient.
Yeah, it's gonna come one day. You need to.
Yeah.
you could write a mini book on the theory, and I was saying, yeah, maybe if you write a book about it.
But yeah, maybe I want to write maybe a memoir, but I'm too young for that. Maybe in 30 years from now, I spill all the tea.
Yeah, why not? And so VRAA, that became from your ranking. You mentioned before you started also a label.
Yes.
And I remember. So you released one EP with the He Bleeds Stories. That was the title of your EP. What's the plan with the label? How's been progressing? How are you thinking about it?
Yeah, so the label is actually my main goal was to contrast different gender point of views. So you should have this dichotomy of male, female, and what's the perspective of what this should sound like. So every time I have a female perspective and a masculine perspective on the same release. So in this case, I have the original tracks made by me, and then I have a remix by IY, which is which was a duo. Now they are they disbanded. Yeah, Irakli and Jakob, but they disbanded now.
Yeah.
And then I have Anya Zalba, which is the female perspective, and how this should sound like. And also I have two different identities as well. Okay. I have a male project, which is the Projekt Gestalten, and then I have my female project, which is called the Princess of Death.
Princess of Death. Okay.
Yeah, you never heard because I'm really shy with this promotion. I don't make promotion. I don't do anything, but I just released a digital EP on my label. This actually was the first release, which was only digital only. And with this feminine perspective, I make more sounds associated with masculinity, you know, so it's more industrial, rough sounds.
Got it.
Using my female perspective. And then with my masculine perspective, I use more melodic sounds that are more associated with matriarchy. So that's the whole point of my label as well, is to contrast those gender point of views.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah. And now I'm working on my album, but it's not that I want to have my both aliases on the same release. But I need some more time to think the whole concept. Yes.
Yeah. Albums are they tend to take a lot of time because, of course, you want to make it right.
Yeah, but it's a concept album which is rooted on a video game from the 90s, a vintage game that is one of my favorites, called Gabriel Knights.
Gabriel Knights.
Okay. Yeah, and I really like this game because you also play as Gabriel Knight, and also you play as his assistant, Grace. So you play as a man and as a woman.
Wow.
And also the game was made by a woman, which is really interesting for me because the game was based this part is more associated with patriarchy, and she's doing this, and then her husband did the music, which is associated with like in the motive with femininity. So that's why I want to use this base this game on.
Got it. And is a game, so what's the name again of the game? I'm gonna look it up.
Gabriel Knights. Yeah, there's actually three parts, and the part that I will use is called The Beast Within.
The Beast Within. Wow.
Yeah, it's a point and click game, and it's actually a movie. We made it with real actors, and it's my favorite game of all time.
Wow. Okay, and it's what kind of game is that? Is that like an adventure game?
Yeah, it's an adventure game, and also you need to go to it actually takes place in Germany, which is also in Munich, and it's a point and click game, and you go and you find clues and talk with people, and they give you information, and then you need to come to other people, ask the right questions, and then you progress throughout the game. So yeah, like, then in the end, in the end you find lost Wagner opera. You know, it's really really crazy. It's really, really crazy. And then there's also this whole story with King Ludwig of Bavaria, and it's really
So it's like it's set in like ancient times, and you are
no, it's actually set in those times in the 90s. Actually, no, it's maybe ancient times now.
Yeah, in a way, yes.
Yeah, but and then you have flashbacks, you know, and then the story kind of you are hunting. There's like been murders, you know, about there was a werewolf that people suspect is a werewolf, and this guy Gabriel Knight, he descends from this long line of witch hunters, you know, like the shadow hunters, and he starts to investigate this case if there's a supernatural nature, and so I don't want to give it away all the I don't want to spoil the
the game and the concept of the album. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so talking about more your production, you started making music in 2003, and you were also interested in audio and visual. I heard a bit, like I read a bit of in an interview where you were thinking you love the audio part and you love the visual part. And at some point you were thinking, oh, I would need at some point to choose between one and the other. But you figured out that actually you can combine them. Do you think that this is a perceived limitation that some people might have when they think about their art, where they need to choose?
Yes, I think it was only in my head, this separation, you know, I was really, it was stupid, but yeah. But the areas that I chose, they complement each other. So I really use my graphic visual skills in my work as artist, as a DJ, as a musician, and also I use my my music skills, you know, in my work with video and stuff. So, but yeah, when I did my final graduation project where I combined both things, I really clicked something that clicked in my mind that I don't have to choose, you know. But yeah, it was really I think the college it was really good to conceptualize my work, and because I have a lot of theoretical classes.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that you cannot get on a YouTube tutorial. You know, you can learn all the skills like in Photoshop and all those graphic softwares, but this theoretical work, you really need to be in class. You need to discuss. You need to read books and all this stuff. So for me, it was really it was priceless, you know, this kind of knowledge. So I apply a lot of concepts of social anthropology, of psychology of perception, and all of this in my work as an artist.
Yeah, there was one video from your Vimeo, which I think it was kind of you took some advertising from German sausage
It was
a Brazilian
Brazilian.
sausage commercial. Yeah.
Yeah, commercial. And I think you flipped it, and it goes very fast. Like there are some intersection very fast of meat
pig
farms. Yeah, pig dying.
No, it was just yeah, and there's not really if you're watching this video, there's not really so much strong graphic scenes, but you can hear the pig dying, you know, and that's really what makes the video strong and kind of uncomfortable to watch. It's because you have this really happy sausage commercial. Yeah, oh, this is so nice. Oh, my family is baking here. They're all happy, making barbecue in the yard, and then you have this really graphic video, but you don't really see what's happening in the video, but you can hear the animal being killed. So that was the but this is all experimental work. It's not really I didn't get commissioned to do.
It's experimental work. And do you think that like people who are approaching work in general, like, let's put it this way, their own art, they struggle with limitations? So sometimes their head is like saying, oh, maybe this is not going to work, so I'm not going to do it. Or people are not going to like it, I'm not going to do it.
I think you really need to think about what you're going to do, and you need to be sure. That's why I told you that, you know, having a going to college, having a bachelor's degree in this in visual arts really helped me to be confident about my work, you know, because when you don't have those theoretical basis, it's very easy to question yourself, you know, because you don't have any references, you don't have you can do a lot of nice work, don't get me wrong, you can really do a lot of really nice work, but also I think you need the theoretical side to stand by it.
Yeah, it gives you a bit of more confidence, because you like there's someone else who's been there, and I learned from them.
Yeah, but and then it doesn't mean that everything that you're gonna make is gonna be amazing. You know, you can also have a lot of setbacks and a lot of ideas that doesn't work, which happens to me a lot of times. So it's really part of failure. It's part of life, you know.
Indeed is. And so I have few questions that I want to ask around your own work, which is, one is, when you have creative blocks, when you feel that things are not working the way you want it, like, is there a way for you to overcome these blocks and get going?
Usually when I have blocks, I make bootleg remixes, you know, because when you do a remix, there's already some restraints in the music that you need to obey. You need to obey the key, or you need to the tempo, the structure of the music. So for me, it's really nice to get inspired. And sometimes I do a remix and I really like the loop, so I just remove the original parts, and then I just make a new track out of this, you know, because I don't want to waste it on a bootleg remix when I can release an original track on my own without those parts that were made by another person, you know. So you can just remove and then just use this as a blueprint for your own work. So that's one way that I overcome this.
Yes. And so are there like tools or strategies that you use to sit down and create music? For example, do you think about a concept before and then you make music, or it's more like you make music and then you shape a concept around that?
Yeah, it depends of the work. Sometimes I have an idea in my mind. Sometimes it's random. Sometimes I can stay months and months without doing anything. Sometimes I can do 4 tracks in a week. So it's really depends, you know. For instance, on the EP, He Bleeds the Stories, the whole concept of this was actually the title came from this book. It's a graphic novel called Mouse, and then it's about how his father survived the Holocaust in the whole Nazi Germany, and he paints the Jews. He's a Jew. His father is Jewish, and he draws the Jew people as rats, the Nazi as cats, and the Americans as dogs. And it's a very dark and weird concept. And the first is divided in 2 chapters, and the first one is called "My Father Bleeds History." And I really found this really very interesting. And the tracks, the track itself is basically different parts of different tracks of mine from the past that I just combined all together. So that was the whole concept of having different elements bleeding into each other. So that's the reason I kind of sample myself, I can stole from myself. So that was then I have different concepts. Sometimes it's pretty random. Sometimes I'm just having a session and I get inspired. Sometimes I have a very clear concepts in my mind. It really depends.
Yeah. And so your the name you chose, your first alias, Projekt Gestalten, it means construction project essentially. And is that correct? Is that
yeah, actually, but there's also a second meaning to it. It's actually based on the Gestalt psychology, which means the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And this is actually a concept that I learned in my university, in my psychology of perception school. And the meaning behind this, because I have different mediums. I have video, graphic design, and music. And the way to understand me, you cannot really, you need to see the whole picture and not see specific parts of my personality. So this is how this applies on my work. So that was the concept behind the name. But also I know that this word is a German word, and then it's going to be translated also as a construction project, and then also constructing. So
makes sense.
So it goes both ways.
Yeah. Is there a way that you have different forms of art? How do you make them consistent with your message? Because the struggle may be that, like, at some point when you put out 2 things, they might look too distant.
Yeah, actually the thing is, I'm not doing so much video, for instance. I think in Berlin you cannot really make money or survive as an artist, like doing videos. We need to have the right connections. I think it's the same with DJing. So, but I am part of the scene, so I have the connections, and I don't have those connections in the art world. So for me, where I apply design is when I do the artwork for my label. I designed the logo, the visual identity. I designed the cover, not the whole. The cover for my EP is actually drawn by different artists, but I do the final art direction. They send me the drawings in black and white, and then I put color. I do the whole design of the layouts. So this is how I use my visual side, when I want to apply in a very artistic way in my own work. But it's very hard to have like a secondary outlets for video and all this. And actually, I want to do a project where I combine sound and video at the same time.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I am mature enough for this at this point. So I think it's something that I might want to revisit later on in my life.
Yeah. When you say mature enough, meaning technically able to...
Not so much technically. I think it's mostly with the concepts, because it's very easy to do something pretty random, and I don't want to do this. I want to have a meaning. I want to have something really, and this is what I was saying earlier. You need to really conceptualize your idea. You need to really feel confident what are you doing, and I don't think I am in this level at this point yet.
Got it. Yeah. And talking about, like, you touched on this before, which is as an artist, sometimes it can be really hard to make it financially. Even in a city like Berlin, where art is supported by the government, there's a lot of people are artists.
Yes.
And then you go to an art gallery and maybe they are asking for internships and they don't pay anything. They don't know able
No.
to.
Yeah. Yeah, that was actually what put me down, because I really don't want to work for free,
Wow.
internships. I don't care. The only work that I did for free on this level was I was part of the video installation that was made by Lars van Trier, which is a really big Danish movie director.
Who shoots naked, right? That is the guy, right?
Yes, yeah, Nymphomaniac you're talking about, yeah. But he has a lot of works, and yes, I did this project because it was a very, a very high profile artist. But even then, it was something that I didn't have to put so much work into it. It's not something that I have to dedicate months and months of my life. I did in one day and then I submit. So it was not really something that took a lot of my time. It was not something that, I have to be there all the time working. This was in the context of the Copenhagen Art Festival.
Beautiful.
And so I was there for the premiere. It was really fun. I met a lot of other people who also, it was a collaborative project with a lot of different artists. And yeah, it was really fun and really nice to be there and be part of this.
Yeah. And so talking about like this problem of like, unfortunately, arts in most cases don't make enough money. So the art gallery, to some extent, like promoter, record labels, they don't make a lot of money, and sometimes it's hard for them to actually get and redistribute money to the creator of the art, like the person who's like creating art or working.
Yes.
What are ways that, like, if you want to run a label or you want to run your own party or you want to run your own art gallery, how can you think about like supporting people who are working for you or with you?
Yeah, that's a very tricky question. Yeah, I think it really depends of what you want to do. There are a lot of fundings in Europe that you can apply for, but it also depends directly of which country are you from, if you are eligible to have access to these fundings. And I myself, I'm trying to get my hand in some of those fundings for some projects on my label. But yeah, it's really hard because there's a lot of lobbying, there's a lot of there's a lot of politics attached to it, so it's very hard. Yeah, so I don't have a straight answer for you. Because there's a lot of possibilities, a lot of a lot of different variables that can affect.
Totally. It's a very hard problem to crack. Labels, I mean, like, even when you run a label, you want to be able to pay people, like.
Yeah, in my case, as I say, I did myself everything. So so basically I didn't have to pay a designer, I didn't have to pay a social media manager. I was just doing everything myself. But it's hard because when I released my EP, I didn't have the money to, I have the money to press on vinyl, but I didn't have the money to do the promotion. So there were not really so many buzz in the press about my release, and if I spend maybe 500 or 600 euros in on the promotion, I could get a lot of buzz, so, but it's also, it's a very hard situation to be in because you want to have the validation of the media, but at the same time it's really hard to if you don't have good PR campaign or everything. So
it is tough. And so for people who run a label or they are working on their own release and they don't have money as well to go with a promo agency, what could be a good, let's say, where do you think they should focus on, where they cannot put money, they just need to rely on their own product?
I think social media is really the best course of action. And also, you can send to you can ask labels and or other artists and other people their email address or their contact information. You can send those, build your own mailing list, but it's kind of annoying to receive a lot of promos, they unwanted promos. So I would ask their artists first. I get a lot of artists asking me before, you know, oh, I know I have some cool music for you. Do you want me, you know, to send it to you? Yes, please. And then I give my email address. So it's very easy to reach artists right now. You have a direct contact with them through social media. So I think that's the best thing to do.
Yeah, indeed, yes. And you thought
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the PR. There's a lot of people who works. You know, I know a lot of people who works in PR agencies, and they do a good job. But the thing is, I think that it shouldn't be the only way to get the media attention. You know, I think there's a lot of people that could, you know, like a lot of lazy editors that could pay more attention to what's going on, you know, in the scene. I think there's a lot of people that just, they expect in the media, they just expect things to be handed to them through a PR agents. They don't really go, you know, after the information or what's going on in the current trends. So yeah.
For some of them, I think it's also hard because they have shitloads of stuff of people who are sending them loads of music or new music every week. So it's hard for them to select.
Yes, for sure. But also, it doesn't have to be your only way through a PR agency. You know, just because this guy's paying, so yeah, we're gonna talk about this. His release, so or her release. So for me, this is the problem for me, is just when you have this laziness of not being able to search for new artists yourself as well.
Have you heard of Submit Hub? It's a platform, it's a tech platform started by a guy that we call Jason, who we interviewed on this podcast. And it's basically like a platform that helps labels and artists submit music to curators, blogs, reviews, premiere channels. There's not much for techno, unfortunately. So there's a lot of like, I would love to kind of help them get a bit more like of the techno community, because it's a problem for people who are doing underground techno to get the reach, as you were saying, where either they pay or they know people or they need to spend a lot of hours to send emails.
It's a really good idea. I think they should definitely turn this into the techno underground techno community. For sure.
Why not? Okay, so you said something before about sometimes you fail when you put stuff out. Like, what has been one of the biggest failures perhaps in your path so far, and the learning from that?
That's a good question. For me, my biggest failure was to say yes to every single label that wants to release my music. I really feel that sometimes you need to be picky. You need to trust the people that you are releasing with. You need to know what they are all about, the concepts, what they are, what's their vision of, with their projects. So I have a lot of sticky situations where I see releases of mine for the past that, it was not really, it was how my music was, the music was sounding at that time, but it's not something representative of my current work. So, and I have a lot of those stuff being re-released without my permission. And I have to contact, I actually had a weird situation that I had to contact the actual distributor behind their backs because they're not answering my emails anymore. Wow. So, I managed to have them removed from being re-released again as a new release. And so this is the lesson that I learned, only to work with people that I really trust. And also that also comes to when I play back to back with DJs or, collaborating with music with people. I always just collaborate with people that I really know personally, that I know what they are about, what their concepts, their vision of life, everything. It's just I need to know who I am dealing with.
It makes sense. What are ways? Actually, let me put it in another way. What are alarm flags for you that you smell that something is not going to work with this team or or label that is approaching you?
As I say, I don't really, I don't collaborate with labels that I don't know. So that's the thing. I just, for me is now is I don't even engage in conversation if someone randomly asks me for a track, or it is really not. It's not even a conversation, so I don't need to look for red flags. It's very, for me, it's very organic the way, I have a friend, then okay, oh yeah, I have a label, yeah, let's do it, and then we do. Actually, I have a EP coming up in the end of the year through a label called Mild Fantasy, and she's run by a Brazilian girl called LD. She's a DJ as well, and we met maybe 1 year ago, and we instantly clicked, and she's
Right.
the friends of my friends, and then we just get along so well. And I message her almost every day. She lives in New York, but I message her almost every day on WhatsApp, just sending out a message, and we are so close. And it made sense to do a release. She has the label, and she invited me to do. And I know she's cool, and she's not going to screw me over. So that's the thing. You really need to have this trust in people.
And
Otherwise,
relationship.
not going to, so to me, there's a red flag. I don't know you. Why you message me? Who are you? What are you all about? I don't know you.
Makes sense. Yes. And I wanted to talk, going toward the wrap up, I wanted to talk about one of the platform you've been involved the most with, Pornceptual, which is a event series was founded by Jamaika Suk, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was founded by Chris Phillips. Chris Phillips, he's a photographer from Brazil, and Raquel Fedato. Raquel is also from Brazil, and she does the managing everything related to planning and all of this. And Chris is more in charge of the artistic side. He's a photographer, so he takes the photos and he makes the videos and all of this. And then when I came to Pornceptual Project, this was in 2014. It was still pretty new, the project. I think they had only 3 parties before I arrived. And I just played there. Then we really clicked. They're all Brazilians, so, and I'm Brazilian as well, so it really made sense. And the party was pretty new at the time. There was only, I think, 150, 200 people. And then so then the party starts growing up to the point that we have now 3,000 people.
Wow.
On parties, and have a lot of showcases in outside of Berlin. And and then we have the resident DJs, which is me and Jamaika Suk as well. She I think she entered maybe 3 years ago. And we also have Curses and the Lady Machine, which is also Brazilian as well. So it kind of became a Brazilian mafia, basically. But only Jamaica that's American. She's Korean, and then Korean born, but she lives in America. And also Curses, which is also American.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. And so you guys played a boiler room, I think, 2 years ago, in August 2018.
Yes.
Funny enough, like I was looking for the video, and then it's on YouTube, but is obscured because I think there are people naked.
Yes.
And so the full streamable version, which sits also on Boiler Room website, is hosted by Pornhub.
Yes.
The whole concept is like it's like, wow, you're like crazy.
Yeah, that was the thing that with Boiler Room, because I think sometimes could be a little very heteronormative, the crowd in Boiler Room. So we are very curious to see how it will be a Pornceptual in this context. And this is, I think, I think it was one of the conditions. We do a Boiler Room, but it's gonna be how a Pornceptual party would be like. And people are really willingly, naked there. They know they're being filmed, and they let it loose. So it was a very, very, very nice experience.
Yeah.
And then it got the broadcast was it was on YouTube, and then the broadcast got shut down halfway. And then they had to upload it on Pornhub.
It's funny. Wow.
So I became a porn star.
Yeah, it's true in a way. Like,
Yeah,
it's something for your CV. You can put it.
yeah,
on the
for
CV.
sure. For sure, it's on my release for sure. This is I'm never gonna take it out of my release.
That's very cool. And what was something that you would do differently from that night, from that event?
I think because it's a 1 hour mix, so I plan every single cue points. So I plan to do something that would clock around 58 minutes. So I have 2 minutes. If I miss a cue point, I have 2 minutes to go. So I don't go over time. But the problem was that when I was playing, I did a sound check. But when I was playing, 5 minutes into my set, the cue button stopped working, and that really completely threw me off.
No.
And I kind of got distracted, and then I kind of played the same song that I was already up, and I missed the cue point. So it was a little bit of messy in the beginning, and because of that, I got really stiff on camera. And also I forgot to bring a flashlight, so I played some records and I couldn't. And when in the sound check, everything was lit up, so I could see perfectly. But when in the actual transmission, everything was dark with spotlights on my face. So and I couldn't. I forgot the flashlight. So I would bring a flashlight with me. And I think the main thing that I would do differently is if I ever am in the situation again, I'm not going to plan every single cue point, every single thing. I think I'm gonna leave rooms for improvisation. I'm just gonna know the last track that I'm gonna play, because this is how I approach my sets. I like to know where I'm going. When I play a set, I'm going to point A to point B, and then I have a closing track. And sometimes in the middle of my set, I change my mind depending on the crowd, and then I play a different track in the end. But at least half hour before my set, I know which track's how it's gonna end. So this is the only thing that I would change on my boiler room. I would be a little more in the moment. Spontaneous.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Very interesting. And this is a good segue to another question I wanted to ask you, which is, and I'm gonna partially steal this type of question from Taiga, who has another podcast where he interviews like Boys Noids and these other guys. And the question that I have for you is let's say that there is the last party on Earth is about to happen, and they contact you and they're like, "Hey Diego, do you want to play for us?" But before you play, we accept you to play, we would like to know what track would you use to start your set, and what other DJ you would like to play after you.
Let me see. Yeah, because I have a lot of different. Because usually I start my set really on an ambience, and then I slowly build up. So I don't have a specific opening track. I always do like some blending of tracks. Yeah. So I'm probably gonna start.
We can do the last one if you want. We can do what last track.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I was reading on the on the script, but it was really hard for me to think of this. Ask me again later. Yeah, I need some time to think.
Yeah. Okay, no worries. Okay, we can move. If you want to, we can move on to another one, and then when it comes back to mind, we can go back to this.
Yes.
Okay. We're going toward the wrap up, so I'm going to ask you very quickly, like a couple of rapid fire questions. And one of them is like, you meet someone at a house party, and the classic question that everybody will ask is like, "Hey, where are you from? What do you do?" But this person is asking you, "What's your purpose in life?" How would you answer?
My purpose in life is not to be forgotten.
Wow. Okay.
To make an impression on people. Could be a controversial impression. Could be good or bad, but people would remember me.
Yeah.
Long before I go. That's not to be forgotten.
Yeah. I mean, with the fan, you're already doing a very good job. With the big fan, you're right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay. And the other question that I wanted to ask you was like, what is your secret weapon? Not just musically, anything in life.
A Brazilian charm.
Brazilian charm. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Nice. And basically my last question is, it's a tradition of Homo Sound, and we ask every guest, what question would you like us to ask our next guest without knowing who they're going to be?
What they can do actively to have more equality on the music industry, on lineups.
Wow.
What they can do personally.
Wow, this is deep. I love it. Yeah, and when you say equality, just to be specific, is gender equality or
gender equality,
orientation, sexual orientation,
sexual
background,
orientation, yeah.
Wow, I love it.
Ethnicity, everything.
Yeah, amazing. I love it. And as you might expect, there is a question from our previous guest, which is, what is your DJ/producer secret sauce?
What?
What is your secret sauce for making music and playing music?
My secret sauce.
Yeah, sauce. Yes. Like, what is your secret? Like,
I think is, as I say, I have a lot of references from the early gay sound from early from progressive and tribal, and so I always try to nod this on my production, on my DJ set. So this is my sauce, you know. I'd like to put this gay up a little bit and pay homage to this era, you know, this dramatic sound with big build-ups, and so there's always reflects on my sets, on my music, one way or on another.
Got it. Okay, very interesting. And if you think you have thought about a track that you would use to close your set for the last party on Earth, I would love to hear.
A closing track. I think I would play "The Time of My Life," you know, from Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing. Yeah, I think.
I had the time of my life when I never
anymore. Yes, I remember that.
I have on vinyl here.
Wow. Yes. Have you ever played it in a party?
I'm waiting for the right time for this.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's not going to be the last party on Earth, but like.
Yes.
Nice. Okay.
Yes.
This has been a pleasure to meet you, to know more about you, and talk with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. And for people who want to find out about your new projects, latest projects, anything you want to point their attention to?
So I have a remix that I made for Patrick Skug on Countercharge label from Ed Davenport's.
All right.
It's coming up soon. And also I did a back-to-back mix with him. So you follow me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and you can see there where I posted whenever we release. Mm-hmm. I also have EP coming up with this New York label.
Yeah.
And also, and I have my album that I'm still working on it. So there's no dates for this yet. So this is something that I still on the early stages. Yeah.
Let us know when it's out. We would love to share it with the community.
Yeah, I definitely would do.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and very nice to meet you.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me. Yeah.
Pleasure.
And thanks for everyone for listening.